Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Paul Maugle. He is from Maugle Sierra Vineyards. It is his vineyard, and it's his first time on the show. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sean. Good to be here.
I'm not going to tell people you didn't want me to say that you have a PhD. So, oh wait, I did already. How are you?
Very nice. Thank you. Very good.
So, Maugle Sierra Vineyards, you're located in Ledyard.
Ledyard, Connecticut, just
right
exit
in
88.
the woods, right?
Well,
right.
actually, between the two casinos,
Right. Oh.
and just north of Mystic.
How is it that vineyards are viable in the Northeast? How does that happen?
Well, we actually planted grapes that are tolerant to minus 30 Fahrenheit.
Wow.
So we went to the Midwest and tasted their grapes. And we now have St. Croix, Marquette, and St. Pepin. The Marquette is more like a Pinot Noir, but minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit tolerant. And St. Croix is more fruity, jammy, rounded, gives you a great wine with a barreling effect. And the St. Pepin is a dessert wine, so it would be a late harvest, like a Vidal, or something you get out of Niagara area. But we could do it right here in Ledyard.
I was going to ask you what happens in the winter, but obviously the same thing that happens in the summer, right?
Yeah.
You just all year round. Who knew? Mm-hmm. So how'd you get started? Tell me the history of your vineyard.
Well, I worked overseas for many years, and then my wife got tired of bopping in, bopping out. So she, when we first came to the United States, loved Connecticut. So let's find something in Connecticut. So we bought a house in Norwich that we sold, and then bought this farm in Ledyard. We were at a point with our lives where we wanted to do something else and be in the United States, because we were like 60% of the time out of the country. So it's time for us to be home and actually create a family and create a place for us to be. So we bought the farm in 2002,
It's a good one.
and we planted it in actually the first 6 acres in March, April of 2002. And then we sold grapes to everybody. Once we started selling grapes and people loved it, we said, geez, maybe we should try to get a license. And we looked into it. First, we had to get a federal license. First we had to get a Ledyard license.
Is it like a bunch of red tape that you wouldn't believe?
Well, it takes 2 years.
Okay.
And it can take, if you hire an attorney, it can take a whole lot less. But if you think you can know how to do it and you read up on it.
Did you think you knew how to do it?
Oh, geez. No, not at all.
Okay. You're a PhD.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't make that mistake.
Yeah.
But I did. And so that's a learning ability. You just don't do it
Listen,
twice.
you learned the hard way, my friend.
So we got the license from Ledyard. We got the license from the state. From the feds. And then the state. The state comes down and inspects what the feds say is okay. And they wanted certain things to be isolated, and where is the tax paid, and where's the non-tax paid wine, and how are you gonna put an alarm in, and let me see the cleanliness of your facility, and what additives are you using, and here's how you pay your taxes, which was
that should have been like the first thing on
No,
their
it was
list.
the most of the that was most of what we talked about. There are several layers.
Yeah.
Like 9 layers of taxing. Anyway. Moving on,
Yes.
I finally got the state license, and we opened with 2 bottles, St. Croix, which is here, and our Chardonnay. And
Are those 2 the most common?
Those are the 2
so
most common.
So that makes sense to start with those?
In 2008, we started with 2 bottles. Now we have 14 different types of wine. A lot of variety, but it's called, when you are in foods, you have in a supermarket, let's say Post or Borden's, they all have a certain shelf space, and they have various types of products. Well, you have to have a product that meets a sweet Riesling, which is our Rendezvous, or dry Riesling, because people don't like sweet, our Sunset White. And of course, we have chocolate shooters for those of us who like chocolate in wine.
It doesn't have to be for dessert. That can be any time, right? Did you take a peek at any other vineyards in the area just to kind of see what was going on?
Well,
Talk
actually,
to them?
Yes. Prior to us getting involved, we worked with a number of vineyards, and very instrumental for us was both Stonington Vineyards and Sharp Hill. Those 2 they're opening, welcoming, very helpful.
So you cut your teeth with those guys?
Well, not really, but yes.
Okay.
When I worked overseas, I worked in Chile, and I worked in southern France. And when you have a weekend off, you go down to the vineyard, you go to the winery, You know, and so you understand what's going on and how to make wine. Being a food chemist, I sort of got it anyway, but you would go down there and help with the analytical, and they'd show you why you did what. But working with Sharp Hill, or going over and talking to Happy over at Stonington, gives you a whole another point of view. And now Jonathan's come on board, and he's open and helpful as well.
That's what's funny, interesting. All the vineyards, I mean, you're competitors, but at the same time, you're friends. You help each other out, right?
Well, the point, not everyone is friendly, but a lot of people are. And the ones that are, you might as well accentuate them because, you know, we're competitors, but, you know, Stonington's like 20 minutes, 25 minutes away.
Right.
And Sharp Hill is half more, 3/4 of an hour. But every single one of us, even though we grow grapes here, make wine differently. And so if you want a taste of Connecticut, you really have to get on the passport, and you really have to go around and taste the terroir. Taste Connecticut.
So you're doing yourself a disservice if you just go to one vineyard and think that is what wine is, that is what Connecticut is, or the Northeast, because that's not quite.
Well, I don't want to say that, but as long as you come to ours.
Yeah, as long as unless you just go to yours.
Of course, you know,
but otherwise you want to.
Truly, I
really,
suggest.
in the Northeast, in New England, one of the best things you can do tourism-wise, just for a fun. Sometimes it'll be longer than a day. Is to take the tour, right?
A staycation.
Yeah.
Hang out.
Stay local.
We belong to the bed and breakfast of Eastern Connecticut, and those guys are. There are 26 bed and breakfasts throughout Mystic County. Mystic County extends all the way up.
Right.
But anyway, and it definitely we encourage folks to stay with those guys, and to come on down to the winery. We have linkages with certain, you know, bed and breakfasts in different areas where they give them a special wine tour weekend, and we're part of it. And they stop in for a couple of tastings, and a couple of glasses, and a bottle of wine, and it's part of their package for the bed and breakfast. And so it links us that way. Plus, we're linked together. And we also, just recently, we joined the Coastal Wine Trail over in, it's Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut.
Nice.
It's a 5-mile strip or 6-mile strip. It goes along from the Cape Cod all the way over to, let's say, almost New Haven.
So it's a shoreline thing?
Shoreline thing.
Okay.
And so, yes, all the vineyards in our eastern Connecticut area on the eastern side of the Thames River belong to this.
So you join like a club. It's a passport, they call it. Is that how it works?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes. And we encourage folks, this is Passport, as the Connecticut one, is sponsored by our state Department of Agriculture. It's really been a very helpful thing for us. And you go from vineyard to vineyard and get a little stamp. And you can grade them, you can comment, you say, whatever
Right.
you want to say, grouchy. But it has, you know, 20, 25 vineyards to go to. And so it gives you directions, times, phone numbers, emails.
That'll take you a lot of the summer to do, you know?
We require, I think they require 16 stamps from 16 different wineries. And then you're entered in a contest to go to Spain in February.
Wow.
Imagine 2 weeks in February in southern Spain where it's 75 degrees and you're not shoveling snow.
Right, which is what you'll be doing if you stay here.
And the vines will be dormant and you'll
Right.
have to drink a little red wine. That's the only way to survive.
But you got it covered in the winter, too. You drink red wine,
Well,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
You have to. And so take the tours, do all the fun stuff. And like you said, it's not just, you know, but by the way, do people understand that a wine tasting is you don't drink the whole glass every time you try a wine?
I think the state law says you can only serve 4 ounces of wine
Okay.
in a tasting. So if you offer 6 wines, you can only offer ½ ounce each. So you're under. If someone wants another splash of something, well, yeah, sure. But I'm still legal.
Right.
The thing is, you don't know who's in the crowd. And if you say, well, here, let me give you a glass of this and a glass of that, and try this and try that. Well, by the time that person finishes 6 half glasses, they're looped or they're getting there. And then that person gets back in the car. And who's responsible for you being illegal? Not the state of Connecticut. We are. So you have to, you know, try to protect your clients and do the best you can about, you know, drinking responsibly. You know, that's part of it. And it is only a splash. You're right. It is a splash. But the idea of the tasting is to select the wine you want. We encourage you to bring a picnic, join up with your friends, meet up with friends, and hang out and enjoy the music, drink a bottle of wine or two, and have a good time.
And that's the thing that people should realize. If you go to a vineyard, you're not just going there. You're going there because the ambiance, the scenery, bring food. There's entertainment, like you said,
Right.
music. So it's like it's a whole. You can enjoy the day, and it's not just wine, is it? Really?
No.
In essence, it's not just wine. It's so much more.
For example, this Friday night, a lot of people tend to come on Friday nights after work, and we have the cartels, okay? And so we'll meet up with friends, swing with the cartels, bring your dancing shoes, bring a snack, and enjoy some wine. And so by 9:30, 10 o'clock, the people are ready, it's an early night. You're 6 to 9 with music, and then we close right after that, and people go home or go out to dinner or do the casinos. And as I said, we were right between the two casinos or just north of Mystic. So you have other things to do, and we're not the only thing to do in the evening. But we certainly do bring folks in to enjoy the ambiance and a great sunset. We are facing west, and you can see a tremendous Ledyard sunset.
So it's a good place for taking pictures and posting them on social media, I would imagine. Yeah,
certainly.
And I would imagine you encourage that too, because all they're doing is spreading the word, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to pick it up where you started out with the 2 wines and everything was going great, but then there had to be some point where you said, you know what, it's time to expand a little bit.
Yeah, my wife and I actually, I was working at Pfizer at the time, and then later she was still working. So we would work only the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We would basically crawl upstairs.
Do you have a full staff at this point?
No, it's just my wife and myself.
Oh, okay.
And I made the wine, I tended the fields. I was much younger.
Yeah.
And I had help in the fields for sure. Now, in 2009 or 10, we said, we got too many people here. We can't do this. We have this large room. We're going to convert it into a winery. And the wife was sort of on board with that. Let's take a look at that. We went to an architect.
I notice you refer to your wife a lot.
Oh, God.
Is it for permission?
Yes, probably. She lets me work there, you know that. She actually was instrumental in selecting Rendezvous. And she likes a sweeter wine. And this is one of those wines that really has taken off amongst our ladies, who are basically our clientele. Mm-hmm. I like a red wine, and she used to like red wines, but she's sort of now in the summertime over to the white wine type.
Well, like depending on the dinner you'll have, though, you'll switch off of the red wine for something that's more appropriate, right?
Of course, yeah. Some fish or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or even the local oysters with our Sunset White is fabulous. I mean, you get Jim Marco's oysters down in the cooperative, or Steve over there in Long Island, definitely, and the Ninnegrits. Oh my God, the Ninnegrits with Chardonnay, my word, Chevrolet.
Let's take my stomach is grumbling here. I might swipe one of those chocolates before the show's over. Let's take a short break. Why don't you give out the website for people to go and learn more?
It's www.maugleSierraVineyards.com. With an S, vineyards with an S.
We'll put a graphic up on the screen too. Paul Maugle, Maugle Sierra Vineyards. We got a lot more to get to, so we'll take a short break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. Paul Maugle of Maugle Sierra Vineyards in Ledyard, but shares it with the world. Right?
Great to be here, Sean. Thank you.
We were as we went to break, we were talking about expansion. All right, you got a whole other room now, and I want to continue on that theme.
Yeah, so we started in 2008 with a very small room in our wine cellar, which is now our wine cellar. We moved up to a room that was actually an indoor swimming pool. We decked over the swimming pool. We put a forklift in the swimming pool. So, I mean, you don't want to carry all those cases up, right? I'm getting too old for that. And so you've seen them at Home Depot where you press the button, it goes up, and you snag the shelf. So if you want to bring up 20 cases, you're not going to run up and down the stairs. I don't care how young you are.
Right.
So we have an opening floor, and the thing comes up and sets it down. So we decked it over. We put in a large 35-foot mahogany bar. We have a dance floor. We have air conditioning, and with an associated deck. The deck overlooks the vineyards and the westerly sunset. Now we put fans on the deck and shade screens because of the sun, and which will come off now that it's fall.
Yeah.
And the leaves will begin to change from gold, to red to gold to falling
Matt,
off.
what is your vineyard like in the fall when the leaves have changed?
Well, the leaves change. It's phenomenal because we're in the middle of the woods. So Ledyard is actually a temperate rainforest. And we are in the middle of a massive temperate rainforest that extends from Route 2A all the way down to Groton Long Point. And there's a reservoir there. Well, we border the reservoir on the northern side. And so what happens in the morning, the clouds come in from the ocean, and the trees capture the clouds and pull the water into the soil. And that contributes to the wetlands, and also the wetlands purify the water and send it off to the reservoir. So we're on the outskirts of all that, but we are, amazingly impacted by the ocean on a daily basis. So the vines do get a lot of water, and which means that so does the trees. And when the temperature drops, the trees start to turn red, then gold and red. So even if it's dry somewhere else, it'll be really fantastic here for leaf peeping and having a good old time.
Speaking of weather, it's interesting that as we tape the show, we're kind of in the midst of a drought. It rains here and there, but you had mentioned that actual rain, for the most part, isn't necessarily always a good thing for your grapes.
That's true. It's true. We were a dry summer this year and last year. We had a phenomenal harvest last year. I had to buy new tanks. What a big expense, my wife.
Is it because of the
I had
amount?
too many grapes.
Wow, that's great.
And so this year we are selectively harvesting. What happened 2 weeks before harvest? It rained, gave us like 2 inches of rain and then 2 inches of rain. And then for a week it was like 40 degrees. So the plants are confused, plus when it rains, the grapes swell up. And so the flavors and the sugar levels are diluted, and so that the concentration is less. So we have to selectively harvest certain plants and not others, and actually you almost go through with a refractometer and say this one, not that one, and it's really...
When you don't harvest, do you leave it longer? Does it die in the vine? How does that work?
That is true, but we've harvested, this Friday will be our 4th time harvesting, and Saturday will be our 5th. So we do a small segment, and then we do another small segment, and we have some that are maturing slower than others because of the cold temperatures. I mean, you get up in the morning, it's 45, 46, 50 maybe. So these slow down the processes. If it doesn't rain in the next couple of days, and they are forecasting rain, we'll have a great harvest on Friday and Saturday, and we'll be done. But so it's a matter of nature. I mean, Mother Nature is very vulgar. What can I say? I'm a farmer at heart.
More vulgar than you.
Oh, my word, yes.
Now, soon there'll be frost on those grapes. What does that mean?
Oh, that'll be... right now we're actually harvesting a late harvest grape, and they're almost ready to fall off the vine, and they're that tender. But you're harvesting just the best of the best right now, and they're concentrated. But if they swell up one more time, they will fall off.
Wow.
And so it's a tenuous time. And the St. Pepin, which is a white grape, is a dessert wine. We're going to let that hang till like end of October.
Oh, wow.
And see if we can get a late harvest dessert wine out of it.
And really that will determine the flavor that we're talking about for a wine.
It's a whole different, it's a dessert wine.
Yeah.
It's really kind of a little bit of sunshine in the bottle. And it's really a summertime wine.
Can you really have wine for dessert? Apparently that is the case.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Some red wine with your meat, or white with your fish, and your dessert wine.
Well, it depends on what you have. You could tiramisu, or you could do a little bit of ice cream. We have one wine called Seduction. It comes with dating instructions. I mean,
is that right?
Absolutely.
Pour wine and good luck to you, right?
We actually we serve it with chocolate shooters.
Ah.
And so actually it's a little wine in a cup, a little essential food group, and there you go.
Now, one of the great things about a local vineyard, especially you, is not only is the wine local, but even the artwork on the bottle is local. And these are all beautiful scenes that you and your wife, I guess, right?
Right.
Have picked out. Talk about some of the scenes on these bottles.
This bottle in particular is actually by Shenecosset Point. There is a little bit of an island there with a house on it. And I've always admired that island. And so my older brother said, well, I could paint a painting of that. And my younger brother, he wanted a painting of his boat. So my older brother painted the painting of my younger brother's boat in front of the island, and I made the wine. And there you go. It's a brotherly approach to winemaking, and it keeps it in the family, so to speak. So my older brother's still giving this out after 5 years now for Christmas.
Wow.
This is my painting,
That's right, because he's basically bragging about his.
He is.
So all your wines have a different local scene on them from a local area, right?
This one is Sunset White, and it's a picture of Wampasset Point. If you go over to Stonington Borough, you go down in the parking lot. When I was younger, we used to go down there and drink. Don't tell anybody.
Wine or something
never.
else?
And then we would look over to Mystic and have a red sunset. I said, boy, that's beautiful. And so one of these times I was working down in Mystic, in Stonington, and I went out on the boat and took a bunch of photos with a photographer and a few other people, and we found locked in this sunset, and it became, Wampasset Point. This one is of the 1740 house. So our house was made in 1740, and it has an addition of a California addition on the back end of it, facing west. It's a Gambrel Colonial, and with the forsythia in bloom in the springtime. So we took a picture of this from Route 117, and it wound up on the bottles. And last but not least is our business plan. When I started here, I had to give an idea of what we wanted to do because it was all woods. I said, well, we're going to have 2 vineyards and a pond. And so I said, really, and there was trees right up to the house. We had turkeys and deer right at the door. And so we did clear a field and planted grapes. Then we cleared a second field in '07 and planted another group of grapes. Since then, we've now planted a third field, and we're clearing more area.
So so you have the ability to expand then?
Oh, sure. We have 97 acres.
Okay.
We're only expanding in certain areas. We're working with actually the NRCS. It's a federal group that actually is about forestry and wetlands and things like this.
Okay, so they are in the business of helping protect the environment.
Well, yes.
And so with you working with them, you're actually doing the same, right?
Well, we're actually caretakers. I mean, we're here for 20, 25 years, hopefully a little longer. God bless, and enjoying the red wines. We might, who knows? But we're only caretakers, and the house was made in 1740. So we hope to pass it on in a better state than we found it. And it was pretty good when we got it.
I have a question for you. You're a man who runs and owns a vineyard. Wines, delicious wines, local wines. Do you ever say to yourself, I feel like having a beer?
Sure.
Do you really?
I like Hofenweizen. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And if I go to Belgium, I'm a Belgium air guy.
Or Germany or somewhere, you're gonna have a beer.
Hofenhausen, yeah, das ist gut. And so, yes, but if I go to Italy, I'm a Bavaria guy.
Yeah.
A little Cab Franc.
Okay, so
Chile.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell me, you touched on this a little bit earlier in the show, the difference between Connecticut and California and France and any other place you would get wine.
How about the difference between Long Island and Connecticut?
Or maybe the next vineyard over,
Well, actually, the vineyards here depend on altitude.
Okay.
And so Sharp Hill and Jonathan have high mountain areas. So they can get a Chardonnay, they can get a certain French grape that they wanted to have from France, they could have it there. Others, like us, we're facing west and westerly hills. We have to have a cold tolerant one. Plus, I'm in a temperate rainforest, so I'm always going to get those clouds, winter, spring, summer, and fall.
Yeah.
So you have to have it wash away or sweep away. Long Island, on the other hand, is in the middle of the Gulf Stream. And so that little eddy of the Gulf Stream coming in actually extends their season and gives them longer degree days, the temperature versus time of light, photoperiod. And it will give them an ability to grow different grapes. Plus it's sandier soil, so it drains very well. So it's actually only, if you think about it, from Ledyard, it's about 5 miles to the London Ferry, an hour and a half on the ferry with a truck where you read the paper and have a coffee. You can pick up 5 to 10 tons of grapes and bring them home. And you don't have to grow them here. Tell me this, in your 401k, do you have several different plans?
Sure.
Wouldn't you have several different grapes based on different vineyards?
Right.
So I can grow what I can grow in Ledyard. But if I'm astute enough, I can make a contract with someone in Long Island and buy their grapes. I used to do this with a fellow in Massachusetts. And try to keep it within 100 miles of where we are. We do have 2 California grapes we bring in, but that's it. And then the rest of it, other folks have other philosophies,
right?
Which is fine, as long as you're making the wine. And Connecticut says you only need to grow 25% of your total has to be grown on your site, and so or under your control.
Real quickly before we run out of time, how do you distribute the wine?
Over the bar on our plate.
Okay.
I do some local.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Package stores.
Okay.
We have some local restaurants like DPI and Mystic, and Oak Tree Liquor Store down in Route 184, Lumax on Route 2. But we're keeping a lady up actually in Jewett City, over by the IPA, and there's very few people we do sell it to, but those are very loyal.
Right.
And we definitely, we'll call them up or we'll go over there and they'll send me an email or do something, and I'll bring them up whatever they need.
But the full experience, you need to go to Maugle Sierra Vineyards just to experience it all. And I hope you get a chance to do it, and I hope you get a chance to maybe grab a passport and experience all that this vineyard and many others in Connecticut and Rhode Island have to offer. And we learned so much today, and you're such a nice man. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being on the show. One more time on the website for people to learn more.
MaugleSierraVineyards.com. www.MaugleSierraVineyards.com.
All right. We will, you can see this show, by the way, and watch it many times on YouTube. This and all our other shows. And until next time, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Take care.